What's up, everybody? It is Thegoal60 here for the fourth preview video of 2018 that I've done on college football, and it is the Pac-12 South. Now, to me, this one is a little bit of a gap between the top team, maybe the top two, and everybody else. I think the bottom of the Pac-12 South is going to eat up on each other. It's going to be very even, but the top is kind of, the cream has risen to the top, and we'll see what they can do there. Now, each one of these videos I've started out with kind of how I came up to this point and how I made these projections. And if you haven't seen the other three videos, the SEC East, the SEC West, and the Pac-12 North, I invite you to do so. But with that, I've got to this point. The next step in the process, once I went through and projected everything as far as stats and went through the season, was looking at situational things. When teams were on bye weeks, who did they play the week before? Is it a sandwich game? That kind of thing. So that does go into this a little bit, in projecting these teams and how they'll finish out throughout the year. Now, just before we jump into USC, I just want to give a disclaimer. This video is going to piss some people off, and that's fine. Trust me, it won't be the first time I've done it. It won't be the last. But I'm telling you, you're going to want to watch the rest of this video, because when I get to the end and you see who I've got at the bottom, you're just going to be screaming and yelling, jumping up and down. You're not going to agree with me, and that's fine, because that's just how I see it. That doesn't mean it's set in stone, and I love hearing your feedback, and hopefully you'll tell me where I messed up and what you think will actually happen. All right, with that said and all that out of the way, let's talk about USC. Now, USC, I know they lost Sam Darnold. I know they lost the big running back they had and a lot of the key players, but they're one of those teams. They've been off, away from that probation long enough. They've built back up. It's easy to recruit to, and they're loaded. Clay Helton is entering, he's been there long enough to where he's recruited his players. Now we get to see what he can do. They're bringing back 7 on offense, 6 on defense. They have the same core of coaches coming back, so nothing new there. As far as the coordinators and the head coach, they were +3 in turnovers last year, so I expect them to be around that again. As far as big games, they're at Stanford week 2, they're at Texas week 3, and they host Notre Dame the last week of the season, week 13. Projected stats, I have 185 yards rushing, 225 yards passing, 135 yards given up on the ground, and 255 yards given up in the air. Now, I know that they're going to be probably playing a freshman quarterback. I know what that means. But when you have that much talent around them, you can take away a lot of those mistakes. You can make things a little bit easier on them while they grow up the first half of the season, and then they get into their own the second half. So I have USC going 10-2. I just have them losing 2 out-of-conference games, going perfect through the conference, and going back to play Washington in that conference championship game. Now, that does mean at 10-2, the over-under for USC is 8.5, so it's not far enough to where, not a big enough differential for me to make a play there. And I know you've heard that more than the actual plays they're giving out, but you have to pick your spots. You can't push things. You can't, throw darts at the wall and hope to hit something. You pick your spots, you pick the ones you feel best about, and you go with those. And overall, out of all these teams, I come up with under 10 plays to take, but I promise you I feel a little bit better about those than any others. Now let's talk about the team that I have coming in second place. Now, this may give a shock to some people, but it's mainly because this guy, everywhere he's been, has come into the new job wide open and has had success at the start and generally with good quarterbacks. Well, he's right back in a spot where he's new to the job and he has a really good quarterback, and that's Kevin Sumlin at Arizona. Now, Khalil Tate is a talent. That guy can throw the ball. It's a beautiful spiral. He's got accuracy, and he can run. So it's kind of the same situation he had when he first got to A&M and had Johnny Football. With that said, Arizona brings back 7 offensive starters, including their quarterback, and 9 defensive starters. They have a totally brand new staff. They were 0 as far as turnover margin for the Power 5 games they had last year. Projected stats, I have them at 225 yards on the ground, 175 yards in the air, giving up 205 yards on the ground and 260 in the air. Their biggest game of the year is USC Week 5, and I have them going 8-4, 5-4 in the conference. Now the posted total is 7.5, so that's not a that's a half a game. I wouldn't even touch that if I had to. So that's where I have Arizona's finishing up second in the Pac-12 South and at 8-4. Now these next two teams I'm going to talk about, which are the third and fourth place finishers that I have for the Pac-12 South, could easily take a game out of one of the other two and kind of flip-flop these finishes. But the way I see it, I have Utah at 3. A lot of people are high on Utah this year, and they have a good quarterback coming back, a good team coming back. They have 8 offensive starters, including that quarterback, 6 on defense. They have the same core. Kyle Whittingham is he's one of those coaches that just knows what he's doing. He knows football. So he, I don't know. If he was at a bigger school, somewhere it's easier to recruit to, he maybe could do something. He may couldn't. I don't know. It's one of those situations where Utah may be the best fit that could have ever happened to him. I don't know. But he's just a really good coach. He's scrappy. He's a defensive guy. Let's see how it finishes out this year. They were -4 as far as turnovers. So I look for them to get a little bit better than that, maybe a couple, maybe even it out. Big games, they have Washington Week 3. They're at Stanford on Week 6. They have Arizona Week 7, USC Week 8, and Oregon Week 11. So that schedule is really tough. They have the top 3 teams from the North, in my opinion, and on top of their Pac-12 South schedule. That's why I have them at 7-5. Now, as far as stats, I have them projected at rushing for 175 yards a game, passing for 225 yards a game, giving up 170 on the ground, and giving up 220 in the air. This is why I picked them at 7-5, 4-5 overall. The next team that I have in the 4th spot is Colorado. Now, Colorado is one of those teams that could be a couple games better, it could be a couple games worse than what I have. When I looked at everything, I don't know, there's a lot of close games, and for whatever reason, they were on the side that could actually go up a little bit, and they actually made a few upsets. But overall, they got 4 starters coming back. They do have their quarterback in that group, and they have 6 starters on defense coming back. They have the same core as they had last year, and they were -3 on turnovers. Now, they have quite a few big games as well. They're at Nebraska Week 2. They're at USC Week 7. They're at Washington Week 8, and they're at Arizona Week 10. So as you can tell, that is a tough schedule. All 4 of their, what I call their big games that they could win, or could, I guess what I'm saying with big games, they could either win those, or it's a game that they're going to be heavily the underdog in those games. They're all on the road. So it's going to be tough for Colorado. I have them at 160 yards on the ground, 245 in the air, giving up 230 and giving up 250. I have them at 6-6, and the posted total's at 5. So I'm right there around that. It wouldn't shock me if they went 5-7 or 7-5. Now this is the point of the video that I was talking about right at the start, where some people are going to think I'm crazy, and that's fine. But please hear me out on the reasoning behind the next 2 teams. Arizona State is one of those 2 teams, and I actually have them finishing 5th. And when I looked at who they had hired, what they had coming back, I thought there's no way that they're even going to win 2 or 3 games this year. Herm Edwards, I don't know how good a hire that is. He just hadn't been in college football in a long time. You already know this, and so I won't go too deep in that. But what I'm saying is, I don't know how that's going to turn out. Now, I looked at pure talent and what they had coming back, and it actually shocked me of who they had coming back, which were their quarterback was very good, and their stats that I had projected were not that bad off. 175 on the ground, 235 in the air, 200 giving up on the ground, and 275 giving up to the air. Now, last year they were +5 in turnovers, so I look at that to probably stay around the same, maybe a little bit less. I feel like that's something that a veteran coach that hasn't been in the game a long time, he's really going to focus on that as a take care of the ball that gives us the best chance at the end. I have them at 4-8. The over/under projected or posted is 4.5, so I'm not that far off as far as what Vegas thought as well. Now we get to the last team in the Pac-12 South, and I need you to do me a favor, take a second. If you need to pause the video, do so. Take a breath, stretch your fingers, get ready to type, because I know the comments are going to start flying with this team. I know who they have coming in as a new coach, but you look at the talent and they just don't have it there. Chip Kelly's coming into UCLA, and I know that this team is going to be very good in the next few years, but this year I don't see it. They have 5 offensive starters coming back. They have transfers coming in to quarterback. They don't have anything really good there, in my opinion. They have 7 defensive starters coming back from defense, which is good. It's a little higher, but I just don't see them having a good year. -10 in the turnover margin last year. Now, Chip Kelly is going to be focusing on putting his new system in. He is an offensive-minded guy. I don't see him focusing on turnovers and doing, getting the fundamentals. I look at him to be focused on getting those reads in, getting the play calls, things like that. I have him putting up 140 yards rushing, 200 yards passing, 240 yards given up on the ground, and 180 yards given up passing. I have them going 3-9. Now, their over-under is 5.5, and I know you're thinking I'm crazy for sure, but I'm looking at taking the under 5.5 with Chip Kelly and the UCLA Bruins. Now, if you enjoyed that video and you enjoy this channel, please think about giving us a thumbs up on the video. Think about subscribing. And if you want to help out the channel, click that affiliate link in the description below and buy you a shirt or a hat or a picture frame or something from Fanatics and help out the channel that way. Thanks for watching this, and I will see you on the next one.
60% of the time, it works every time.